Okay, Leland, this is how you play Colosseum. There's no more excuses, so when I see you, we better actually play this. To set up the game, obviously you put the board at the middle of the table, then give each player a player sheet, 30 coins, and 2 arena pieces. Place the Emperor, Consuls, and Senators on their respective spots on the board. Set the Colosseum expansion pieces, lodges, and season tickets aside. Choose who goes first and have them place their Colosseum on the spot closest clockwise to the Emperor, and give them the first player token. There's 2 types of resource tokens available. The beige-backed ones are the ones you'll use at the start of the game, and the standard gray-back tokens. Add all the gray-back tokens to the bag. These will be used to refill the market spaces. Fill the market spaces in the middle of the game board with those beginner ones, and give each player a number of the starter tokens according to the player count. Give each player 1 scroll of point value 7 to 9 points, and 1 event scroll of value 11 or 12 points. Just sort them into 2 piles, shuffle, and give each player 1 from each pile. Put the rest in the box. Place the Emperor's medal tokens, the podiums, and the star performer tiles near each other. Put the game round counter on the first space. Throughout the game, you'll be doing your best to put on the highest point earning shows possible. This is done by putting on shows that you can fit in your arena and acquiring the necessary resources to do so. The game is played over 5 rounds, and the player that can put on the highest scoring show within 5 rounds wins the game. A game round consists of 5 phases. Phase 1. Investing. This is where you up your potential by doing 1 and only 1 per turn of a few different things. You can buy an event program. Doing so will let you put on shows that are worth more points and money. You can only put on shows that are equal to or smaller than your current arena size. So if you buy an event that shows a 4-segmented size arena, you can't put it on until your arena is big enough. The event scrolls have a cost at the top, the assets it takes to put on the show in the middle, and the point value for doing so towards the bottom. At the very bottom of the scroll is a list of penalties for putting on a show while missing a specified amount of resources. Another action you could take is expanding your arena. To do this, just pay 10 coins and add a segment to your arena, making sure it still covers your starting spots. Or you could purchase a season ticket. All this does is cost you 10 coins. Once you do this, take a season ticket token, place it next to your arena. For the rest of the game, every show you put on gains an additional 5 points. The last option you can take is building an Emperor's Lodge. Doing this lets you place a lodge token next to your arena and allows you to roll a second die in Phase 4. Again, you can only take 1 of these actions per round, so choose carefully. Phase 2. Acquiring event asset tokens. 5 markets will have been filled with tokens. The player with the first player token becomes the first active player of the round. They choose a market and start an opening bid of at least 8 coins, or they pass. The player on the left of the active player can choose to either outbid the active player or pass. Bidding goes around the table until one player hasn't passed. Once you've passed, you can't jump back into this auction. Once you win the bid, you can't bid on any other markets again until there's a new active player. And that doesn't happen until the current active player has actually won one of the bids. So if you, Leland, are the active player and you choose a market to start bidding on, but you don't win the bid, after the auction you get to choose another market to bid on. If you did win the bid, the player on your left becomes the active player. The markets are refilled and everyone is again eligible to start bidding. This round goes until everyone has had a chance to be the active player. Most tokens are standard, use them to put on events, but there are 3 special tokens. The Universal Asset token is essentially a wild and can be used as anything. The Emperor token, once acquired, is immediately discarded and you gain an Emperor medal. I'll explain those later. Additional action tokens. You can use this token to take a second action in the investment phase, or you can discard it for an Emperor's medal. Phase 3. Trading event asset tokens. This is pretty self-explanatory, but in player order you get to try to trade assets and money. The starting player is again the first active player. They can throw out trade ideas to the table and all the other players can give offers or counter-offers. Once a trade has been made, it moves on to the next player to do the same. Non-active players can only trade with the active player. But honestly, the best way to play this is just to have a totally open trading round, and when everyone's ready to move on to the next phase, you do. Star Performer tiles are awarded to players that have sets of 3 or more of the same type of tile in their inventory. If you have 3 Lion tokens, you get the Lion Star Performer tile. What that means is that if you put on an event that uses lions and you have that tile, you get a bonus 4 points. You lose the Star Performer tile when you have less than 3 of that asset type, or another player gains more of that type than you have. In those cases, you would lose the tile immediately. Phase 4, producing an event. Here's the meat and potatoes of the game. Starting with the player with the first player token and then going clockwise, play commences like this. First, roll a die. If you have an Emperor's Lodge, you get to roll both dice instead of just one. You then move any of the people meeples on the board as many spaces as the dice show. You can choose to move either one piece the total of both dice, or you can split the two dice between two different pieces, assigning one face value to one piece and the other to another, assuming you have that lodge, of course. If you get a 1 through 3 face, you choose how many spaces the piece gets to move between 1 and 3 spaces. You would want to move these fellas for a few reasons. First is to get them into your arena. You get a bonus 3 points at the end of your show for having a senator in your arena, a bonus of 5 points at the end of your production for a consul, and a bonus of 7 points for the emperor. Obviously, another reason you might want to move these pieces is to get them away from your opponents. Also, if you manage to end the movement of one of them on a noble starting spot, you get an Emperor's Medal. These medals can be turned in for 6 coins, 3 points at the end of this phase, or 1 to 3 more movements when moving these nobles around. Alternatively, you can discard 2 medals during the investing phase to make a second upgrade. They are one-time use though. So you've moved the nobles and it's time to raise the curtain. From the event programs you have in your hand, you can choose one to try to produce. Make sure your Colosseum is large enough for the event you put on. Show the event you're going to be putting on, show the assets you'll assign to it. You then add together all the possible variables to get points for your show. This includes the straight point value from the event itself minus any penalties for lack of resources, 5 points for each season ticket token in your arena, 4 points for each star performer award you have if associated with an asset you used, all points for nobles in your arena, 3 points for each podium, I'll also get to that later, and 3 points for any Emperor medals you decide to play. You also get 5 points for each different event you've played in previous rounds. You can choose to redo an event, you just wouldn't get the 5-point bonus for that one. Now this is important, do not add your score to the previous round score. This is where the game gets really interesting. As I said before, the winner is the player that puts on the single best show. Each round you're putting on a new show, so your point value only ever moves to the highest score that you've completed, not cumulative between rounds. You then get coins equal to the amount of points you earned this round. Then flip the event upside down to indicate the future 5-point bonus it will earn you. Phase 5. Closing Ceremonies. The closing ceremony happens after every round but the last. Whichever player is in the lead earns a podium. These podiums I mentioned before are worth 3 points in all future rounds. If there's any ties for the podium, you roll for it. Assess the tokens you used to produce your event in the last round. Choose one of the asset tokens and remove it from the game. The player in last place has the option of asking the player that just earned a podium for any one of their asset tokens. This request cannot be denied. You can only request regular tokens though, so no medals, universal asset tokens, emperor tokens, or additional action tokens. Once everyone's played 5 rounds, the game ends and the player with the most points wins.